Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that's a little difficult to talk about, but I'm going to tackle it anyway. And that is, should you go to an art school, a university that has an art degree, or should you just decide on neither and go out into the world and be a freelancer the second you graduate high school? A lot of them, there are so many different opinions on the internet. You're going to hear very, very different sides of the story, and I'm one of them. I am merely one opinion on the internet. It is your decision to take this video as crap or gospel. I don't care, but I'm going to try in this video to be as unbiased as possible and talk about all three, because I actually have a little bit of experience with all three. I spent 3 semesters at UConn, which is a major state university, studying illustration. After that, I took about a 9-month break and was working on my own. And then I also have spent the past 3 semesters at MassArt, again studying illustration. If you're interested in just those 2 options between art school and art university, watch this video that I did last year, and I'm going to talk about all 3 of them in this one. So, there's a lot to cover. Take everything I'm saying with a huge grain of salt, because I only know 2 schools, I only know my own experience, but again, I'm trying to be unbiased because this is such a big, meaty topic. So before we can go into the 3 different schools, we have to talk about the 4 different things that you have to consider before you can pick your school or no school. There's 4 factors. Everyone has different factors, so everyone will tell you different things based on their factors, but you have to look inside yourself and tell yourself what your situation is. First one, most important, is money. Do you have your parents supporting you financially, or are you on your own? Do you have savings? Can you apply for financial aid or scholarships? Do you have your own job? What is your income situation? Have a really strong talk with your parents, if those are the people you're talking to, and figure out the hard numbers. What can you afford? Second is location. What options are around you? Do you live in the Northeast, where there's tons and tons of art schools? Or are you kind of in the middle of nowhere and you have limited options? That's the second most important thing. Third is hustle. How good are you at working independently? Do you need other people to kind of bolster you and keep you going? Or can you just go be in a dark corner somewhere and work like a maniac? What is your situation? And fourth is talent. What is your skill set? Talent is not the most important, that's why it's last on the list, but it's still important enough to be considered. But these are the 4. So now we're going to go one by one. Art university, as in a school that you can get an art degree, but it's a general major university, is the biggest place for art students to go. That's the number 1 option for the people who are watching this video. I would argue that probably 50 to 60% probably are going to fit this option the best. Art school is going to be like, oh gosh, can I get the math right? 49, 39%-ish. And then the last one being on your own and doing neither, that's like 1% or less. But back to the university, the biggest melting pot option, income. This is a really good option for people who have a lower income status, because universities have more money to give to their students, so you're more likely to get scholarships, financial aid, work studies, etc. You're going to have more options available to you, and major universities have they have lower amounts of tuition, right? They're cheaper than an art school. And not to mention, there are so many universities across the United States that you can get an in-state college and have a much cheaper tuition that you have to pay for. If you have a higher income amount, good for you, you've got a lot of options. But for someone who's lower on the food chain, this is a pretty great place. Next is location. As I just said, there's tons of universities out there. If you live somewhere where there's lots of art schools, again, congratulations. But if you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, a university that has an art major is probably going to be your only option. So you're probably going to have to look into that as best as you can. These 2 are the most important when it comes to university, location and money. The next 2, not as important, but we have to cover them anyway. The first one is hustle. The thing with university is, this is the best place for someone who's a little unsure of themselves on whether or not art school is right for them. These are the people who are not 100% sure they want to be an artist, or want to study in other things, either like business, psychology. Maybe they have different interests, or maybe they want to have another degree just in case, you know, like a safety net in case the art thing doesn't work. Maybe they want to mix art with another thing, like psychology and art go hand in hand for art therapy, or biology and art go hand in hand if you want to be like a scientific kind of artist and draw the things in textbooks, etc. You know, depending on your situation. But if you're not 100% committed to 100% pure art, or maybe you are, but your parents aren't committed, which happened to me, then a university might be the best place for you. If you're kind of on the fence, art school is not going to be such a great option, because you're going to go to art school and everyone else around you is going to have that hustle, right? And they're going to be go, 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 and they're going to have amazing talent, and all the professors are going to go gaga for them. And you're going to be sitting over in the corner like, oh my God, like, is this right for me? Because I don't know if I belong here. At a university, it's a little bit more calm. You have significantly more options. You're not paying as much money, so there's a little bit less of the risk factor, etc., etc. So if you're a little on the fence about it, this is the best place for you to go. Not saying that art university, I keep saying art university, not saying that university is the only place to go to if you're kind of wishy-washy. Like, there are plenty of strong hustlers that go to university. But if that's the type of person you are, maybe that's the best place for you to go to. And then lastly is talent. I cannot make the argument that art school people are more or less talented than university students. It's an apples to oranges comparison. An art school has more students, a university has less. An art school probably has a better pick of the litter. You can't argue one or the other. But when it comes to a university, there's less students. So the professors can give you more quality time to help push you. Ergo, if you are on a lower level amount of talent, this might be a really good place to go to, because one, you're more likely to get accepted, and two, you're going to have more hands-on attention with the professors, and they're going to help you grow a little bit better. So these are the four. If you're thinking about doing a university, it's probably the best if it's when your situation is you don't have a ton of money, you don't have a ton of other options, but you're still interested in pursuing art. You've got a little bit of hustle, at least you're curious about it, and you've got enough talent that you can kind of push forward with this career. It's also just good if you're a really, really good art student, but you want to save some money and kind of like help yourself create a nest egg of savings. So when you do go off into the world, there's tons of reasons why people go to universities, but these are the four to consider. Next, we're going to go to art school. This is the not as big of chunk of people, but it's still pretty large for people who want to go here. First off is money. You need to have a higher income if you want to go to an art school, because art schools in the US are typically $50,000 to $60,000 per year. That's extremely expensive compared to a university, which you can get as cheap as $20,000 a year. Or maybe even less, I'm not sure, 100% sure. But art schools are expensive, and art schools do not give out a lot of money in scholarships. Take SVA, for example. Their largest scholarship is $60,000 off, or basically 1 year of college free, but they only give it to one person, and that's the biggest they've got. They don't even have a full ride. So if you are a lower income student, you could apply for scholarships and financial aid, and you could in theory get it at school, but you're probably going to be better off going to like a university or something if you really want to save that money. Overwhelmingly, you need to have more finances, more money if you want to take that as an option. Next is location. There are not that many art schools. If you live in California, or if you live in Massachusetts or something, and there's other schools, there's art schools available, that's awesome. But more likely than not, there's probably not something around. And if you need to go out of state or across the country, you're gonna be paying big bucks for out of state tuition. I'm in the North England bracket of price, and the difference in price between that and being in-state in Massachusetts for my college is insane. So take that into consideration. Money is huge when it comes to art school, not to mention you're paying for so many supplies and all that crap. Now let's get into the second two, which are, well, the first one, hustle. This is really good for people who know that they definitely want to be an artist and they want the best education they can get so that they can go out into the world and do great immediately. At an art school, you're going to have so many opportunities. Not only are the professors pushing you and pushing you and pushing you to be a talented individual, but you are going to have more galleries that you can apply for. There's more classes that you can take for being a professional business person. You can join clubs. There's freelancing opportunities that they give to students. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but an art school is going to have way more resources and things for you to do in order to get a leg up on the competition. So if you've got that hustle, if you're like, I want to be an artist, this is a great place to be, because in theory, the whole point of an art school is that after 4 years, you're going to be set. Does it actually happen? Debatable. But that's not what this video is about. That is what it should be. So in theory, yeah, a good hustle is going to be great, and you're going to be surrounded by people who also have that hustle, and that's very important to motivate you to go further. And then lastly is talent. You need a good amount of talent to go to art school, but ultimately they're teaching you for 4 years. You're gonna be just fine by the end of it, again in theory, but you should be fine by the end of the 4 years to go off and be a professional. So talent and hustle are not quite as important in this case, because the school is going to push you towards that anyway. You've got kind of that parental nudge, shove in the right direction. The similarities between a university and an art school are that you have to consider cost and location more than hustle and talent, because in theory, the colleges themselves are going to be the ones helping you in that area. You just have to cover the bills, and you just have to show up to class. But the last one, the neither option, the elusive elixir to this thing, is the opposite. And we're going to walk through that right now. First one is money, finances. Obviously, that's the best option out there because you're not paying for anything. You're not going to get into any debt. You're going to have to pay for certain things like museum visits, books, tutorials, going to certain events, etc. Like, obviously there is money that you need to be paying, but hey, you're not paying $20,000 to $60,000 a year, right? So that's already a huge amount of savings. Good. Next is location, which is a little important, but not terribly important, because you can be a freelancer anywhere you want to be. But people, I can't just say, oh, you're fine, because people who do live in certain areas might have a better shot of being a freelancer. For example, if you live in California, the animation industry is huge. You could try to get into that and be like a concept artist or a character designer or something. There's tons of things out there. Or if you're in New York City, you can go to the Society of Illustrators and do all of your networking there. There are certain areas that are going to be better off than others, so location is still important. But ultimately, we live in the 21st century. We have the internet. You could, in theory, be in the middle of like anywhere, dry and barren, and be completely fine. So that's location. Now for the last two. I'm actually going to talk about talent first. You do not need to be the most talented person in the world in order to go solo. But here's the thing. If you decide after high school, I do not want to go to college, I'm just going to go, that means your competition is with all of the people who graduated art school and university. These people have had 4 years of intensive training in order to be a professional. That's your competition, okay? So your talent level has to be as high as those people who've had 4 years longer to grow and mature than you have, and those are intense 4 years. So you have to take a real honest look at yourself and take a look at your competition, again, the recent graduates, and compare and be like, am I good enough? That doesn't mean going to your Instagram and counting likes. That means literal quality and talent. You have to be really, really honest with yourself, because if you're not at that level yet, you are going to have to move it and learn as much as you can in a really short amount of time, because that's your competition and they always will be your competition. So that's something to consider. And then the last thing is hustle. And here's the thing. I have watched so many videos and read so many articles about people who say that you shouldn't go to art school because blah, 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 mostly about the money, and how you can easily get the same amount of education just going on your own. They're not totally wrong. There's a grain of truth to what they're saying, but they're completely missing that last ingredient, and that's hustle. Because when you are on your own, you're on your own. You do not have a professor telling you what mistakes you are making. which means you're going to have to struggle really, really hard to make sure that your talent is up there. But more importantly, you have to be your own agent. So what does hustle mean? Hustle means you have to grind for every single job that you get. Now, some of you might be sitting there thinking, oh, that's fine. I'll go on Craigslist, I'll go on monster.com, I'll go on blah, 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 whatever crappy website, and I'll type in illustration jobs and I'll go do that. No. No, you will not. That is not how these things work. If you go on Craigslist or some other similar website, you're going to find really large, really crappy jobs for little to no pay. That's more or less how it goes. So that is not where you get started. That's really not where you're going to make your money. So what do you have to do? You have to get your name out there. That means going to events like the Society of Illustrators and literally schmoozing with people, giving out your business cards. That means going to a convention and sitting up a table and selling your goods. That means having an Etsy shop, or some other kind of online website where you're selling your goods. That means having a social media account where you have tens of thousands of subscribers so that you can get your name out there. That means going to companies physically with your portfolio to talk to an art director and show them your work. That means sending out mailers and emailers every single week so that people know that your name is out there, etc., etc., etc. Freelancing is hard. It's really, really, really hard. I've got a professor who's like, he's got to be in his 60s or something. He's been a freelancer for decades. And he says of the 100 mailers he sends out, he only usually gets one response back. That's the percentage difference. It's insane. So if you need other people around you to kind of push you to do things, there's nothing wrong with that, but that is not going to work if you want to be 100% a freelancer. Like, you need to have that own internal drive to go, go, go. And additionally, if you don't have that, like, not only do you need to have the drive to get the jobs, but what do you do when you're not getting the jobs? What if you're sending out all your mailers and you're doing everything correctly, but you're still not getting work? What do you do then? A hustler is going to be doing their own personal projects to continue doing work and getting their name out there. Or they might pick up a side job and continue to do the full grind when they're at home at night, burning the midnight oil, trying to get their stuff out. You see what I mean? It's so much work. And that's the key element, the key thing that we have to talk about here, is if you don't have that, and most of you won't, I'm not saying you should have that at the age of like 16, 17, 18, whatever your age is when you're watching this. I'm not saying you need to have that, but if you want to go 100% pure freelance right from the get-go, you're climbing a really, really, really steep mountain. But there are some people who are like that. There are plenty of success stories out there where artists are extremely talented and they love getting their name out there. They find it fun, they find it challenging. That's just their life, and it's okay, and they can make it. But for most of us, including myself, we need the education, we need the support in order to get there. I like my education. I like the fact that I went to university and that I went to Mass Art, my art school, because I'm learning a lot and I've grown a lot. But do I think I would have made that on my own? I don't know. I can't honestly tell you. The 9 months that I was by myself working at Starbucks and doing artwork after work were perfectly productive. I consider myself a pretty strong hustler, but I mean, I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have school. That's up to you to decide. So once again, to go down the list of things, income's obviously number one, most important. Then there's location. What are the opportunities that are available for you? Hustle. Who are you as a person and as a student? Are you going to, like, do you spend your whole day drawing and looking for opportunities and applying for opportunities and being that kind of person? Or do you need other people to be your support? Be honest with yourself. And then lastly is talent. Are you ready to go out there and bite for all of those jobs and opportunities? Or, you know, do you have a little bit more time to grow and mature? There's no right or wrong answer, because there's an answer for you somewhere. There's 3 just in this video, but there's even more, because you could go to an atelier or community college or something. You can get like a tutor, or God help you. Everyone's got very different stories. Go look up your favorite artist right now and look at their story. There's so many different people that took crazy different paths. Yuko Shimizu, she spent like what, over a decade working in like a finance, like a really, really big corporate office, before she finally quit her job, went to art school, and is now like one of the most famous illustrators of our current generation. It's kind of crazy. Everyone's got their own path because everyone has their own unique blend of ingredients of the four. So sit down with yourself tonight, do a little bit of research. I'm going to include some links down below of talks, books, articles, things that I have found on this journey that I found at least helpful, so you don't have to just take my word for it. But like I said, it's just my word. You do not have to take what I'm saying as gospel. Quite a few of you are probably watching this and are disagreeing with me. That's fine, because everyone has their own experience. But you have to take a look at the big picture before you make any kind of decision that you think is right for you. And if you're freaked out about what decision to make, then go for the safest route. It's not worth it to go diving into deep waters when you barely know how to swim. So yeah, that's it for this video. I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy, but I also don't want to fluff you guys up and be like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't go to art school. It's so easy to be alone and a freelancer, because that's not it. That might be what a lot of people are saying, but that is not necessarily the case. It's a scary, scary thing being a freelancer, but you can do it if you're interested and you want to and you have that drive. Anywho, I'm kind of exhausted. My throat hurts a little bit. Check out my social media if you want to. If you want to subscribe, that's great. If you could do me a bigger favor, hit the bell icon, since that's the only way you can actually like get notifications apparently. And yeah, I'll see you in another video. Good luck, everyone who is applying to schools and trying to figure out their life. I'm here with you, and I'll try to answer as many questions as I can in the comment section. So yeah, have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!